In 1969, Neil Armstrong walked on the moon.
The moonwalk came at the height of the Cold War. NASA launched the first space shuttle as a reusable craft that became the U.S. primary spacecraft for the next 30 years. The ISS, the International Space Station, was built by a bunch of countries, including the U.S., which began in 1998. Both the ISS and the Space Shuttle program have been criticized for their great expenses, and the shuttle program in particular has struggled to complete missions safely and on schedule. Indeed, 2 of the 5 programs that the space shuttles have launched, there have been 2 that have been lost.
B hydraulic power units have started. T-minus 21 seconds, and the solid rocket booster engine gimbal now underway. T-minus 15 seconds. T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. We have main engine start. 4, 3, 2, 1, and liftoff. Liftoff of the 25th Space Shuttle mission, and it has cleared the tower.
Control program. Roger, roll, Challenger. Good roll program confirmed. Challenger now heading downrange. Engines beginning throttling down now at 94%. Normal throttles for most of the flight, 104%. We'll throttle down to 65% shortly. Engines at 65%, 3 engines running normally, 3 good fuel cells, 3 good APUs. Velocity 2,257 feet per second. Altitude 4.3 nautical miles, downrange distance 3 nautical miles.
So the 25th Space Shuttle mission is now on the way after more delays than NASA cares to count. This morning it looked as though they were not going to be able to get off.
1 minute 15 seconds. Velocity 2,900 feet per second. Altitude 9 nautical miles. Downrange distance 7 nautical miles.
President Obama scrapped much of Bush's plan in 2009 instead of announcing a program that would focus NASA's resources on developing the needed technology, including a so-called heavy lift rocket to take human beings to an asteroid by 2024 and to Mars by the mid-2030s. Meanwhile, the Space Shuttle program is concluding with the final launch schedule for July 2011. Obama's plan is to rely on private companies to carry U.S. astronauts into space until a new spacecraft and rocket are built.
There's a lot more of space to explore and a lot more to learn when we do.
Hubble Space Telescope, which has allowed scientists to observe interesting objects such as galaxies, nebulas, supernovas, and various other cosmic phenomena that are light years away from Earth. Hubble is one of the several unmanned craft that the U.S. has sent into space to gather data and make scientific observation.
On October 4th, 1957, the Soviet Union launched Sputnik, the first man-made satellite to orbit the Earth, for more than 90 days, emitting a beeping noise certain radio frequencies could capture.
On January 31st, 1958, the U.S. Army had launched its own satellite, Explorer-1, but the establishment of NASA. Upon its creation, NASA initiated the Mercury program, with the goal of sending the first human being into space. In 1959, the administration introduced to the public the so-called Mercury 7, the 7 pilots chosen to participate in the program. On April 12, 1961, it launched the first manned space flight, sending Yuri into space on the Vostok 1. Yuri made a 108-minute flight around the Earth before he ejected from the craft at 23,000 feet and parachuted to Earth.
I believe that this nation should commit itself to achieving the goal before this decade is out of landing a man on the moon and returning him safely to the Earth. No single space project in this period will be more impressive to mankind or more important for the long-range exploration of space, and none will be so difficult or expensive to accomplish.
The program began with several unmanned tests of equipment and craft. The first Apollo mission, named Apollo 4, launched Saturn V rocket with the Apollo CSM into space. Later tests involved further preparations of Saturn V rocket as well as tests of the LM.
Do you think the U.S. government should increase funding for space exploration projects or allow commercial space companies to take over shuttling astronauts to and from space?
I guess the history of the country shows that taxpayer dollars are used for shuttling people into space and exploring space and space missions. And when you think about the use of all the satellites that are out there for GIS and such, that's a big project, so you need to have a big fund for it, so it makes sense that the government's been doing that. Obviously, times are rough for money, and financially people aren't really excited about maybe having their tax dollars go towards that anymore. I guess I'm in favor of allowing some missions to be privately funded, but I don't know if that's necessarily the way we should go with that, because there's a lot of responsibility, with having that happen. What if things go poorly? What if lives are lost? Those kinds of things. I guess it could be dangerous to privately fund that too.
I guess it depends on what the cost would be for the commercial guys to get up there and do it, if it would wind up saving us or not.
Do you think unmanned robots can explore space as effectively as human beings?
It's safer for sure. Anytime there's the rovers on Mars that are sending back information. You have obviously satellites are unmanned and they're remotely controlled. So I think you're getting a lot of information. I guess it all depends on what our purposes are for exploring space, whether or not the purpose is to send people out there and to be out there, or whether it's just to gather information.
I think they probably could do a better job because they can withstand the elements and be out there longer and use their cameras and everything they have to zoom in and out on stuff that's out of reach.
What would be the benefits of returning to the moon? Would they be worth the cost? If the U.S. did return to the moon, what do you think the goals of such missions should be?
Well, yeah, I would think so. It's safer for sure. Anytime there's the rovers on Mars that are sending back information. You have obviously satellites are unmanned and they're remotely controlled. So I think you're getting a lot of information. I guess it all depends on what our purposes are for exploring space, whether or not the purpose is to send people out there and to be out there, or whether it's just to gather information.
I don't know if it'd be worth returning to the moon or not. Maybe they should go explore somewhere else and find out something new.
What would be the benefits of returning to the moon? Would they be worth the cost? If the U.S. did return to the moon, what do you think the goals of such missions should be?
I think we should go back to the moon. I think it's just kind of crazy to think that we've been there, but not in my lifetime, not in your lifetime. It's kind of strange to have done this and then to kind of walked away from it and said, okay, great, we did that. No big deal. Let's not do that again. It's something that our generation, I think, should see happen. I think it'd be a unifying moment, just like it was, and I think it would be something that would generate a lot of positive publicity for the space program.
Hopefully to figure out if they can find something new out, and maybe if there's any kind of way we could actually find somewhere to live besides Earth in case we ran out of resources, or maybe find some new resources